Game face. All right, welcome to my first video off the new YouTube channel relaunch. I knew that I had to talk about this game ever since I started brainstorming about games that I had to talk about, and this game is called Skye Odyssey. It's a adventure arcade flyer game where you fly through missions trying to land in ancient ruins to get map parts to discover the location of a final secret island which no one has ever visited and returned from alive. So that's it. It's almost like, I hesitate to use the word Indiana Jones because I think they said that in the Wikipedia article, but it's honestly the best thing that I can say to you. You're like Indiana Jones in a plane, flying around trying to uncover these ancient map pieces to explore the final island. I'll give you the obligatory information about it. It came out in 2000, let me squint here, November 15th. The first year that the PlayStation launched, that was right before Christmas. And oddly enough, the Japanese version actually launched shortly after Christmas in January, and the game is completely made by Japanese devs, so I find it really unique that a game would release in America before Japan if it was completely made in Japan. It was developed by a game company called Cross, which honestly, I can't remember anything else that they've ever done. If anybody else knows a game that Cross made, put it in the comments. It's one of the fun, most interesting things about the dev team is that it was made by, the music was made by the guy who did the Shadow of the Colossus music, and he's also done a bunch of anime and stuff too, so you know the music's going to be really good. It kind of has a mixture of like, typical action adventure, upbeat exploring music, but it also has, during the missions, like this really weird, chanty, Ghost in the Shell style music. It's a really weird mix, but there's something really charming about it, and I've always really liked it. So you fly through these missions, and there's all kinds of arcadey action things you have to do. Like one of the missions has you, like in the cover here, has you flying along a train, and you're connected to it, and you're getting refueled by the train because you start the mission with no fuel. Some of the missions you're flying down in canyons, and there's earthquakes and all kinds of stuff, debris falling, and you gotta look out. There's caves where you gotta fly into. You feel like you're Luke Skywalker, or going into the trench run there. There's one, my personal favorite was one where you have to fly over the giant peak, the highest peak in the mountain, and you have to dump all your fuel as you're flying up towards the peak because your plane's too heavy. I mean, it's an arcade game, right? Like, cut it some slack. And so your plane's too heavy, you gotta dump your fuel, and then once you make it over, you have a very limited time to make it to the airport and land on the other side. There's one where you're flying around and there's storm, you're in a storm, and there's lightning, and there's big cloud walls on each side, which are effectively barriers. You just blow up if you hit into them. There's one where you gotta land really down low on an airfield was just surrounded by clouds, so you have to circle and get lower and lower while avoiding these big cloud walls of death. And it's just an action arcade flyer. There's no shooting. It'd be great for the fam. Not that that's the point of my review channel, but like this would be a great family game. You could put your kid on it because it's just flying around exploring with really exciting music. And something I didn't know until I did a little bit of research for the game is that there's actually multiple levels before the final level. When you go into the adventure mode, you can do the levels in different orders. You can't pick any mission because as you fly around you unlock new ones, but you can vary up the order that you do the missions. And so depending on the order that you do them, it varies the last mission before the last mission. And I never knew that when I was playing it before, so I think I always played it the same way, to be honest. And so it gives me a reason to go back and experience it again. So outside of just doing the missions, there's side missions. Well, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. First, I should talk about when you do the mission, you actually get a score. You get it rated for it. You can get acrobatic points by doing barrel rolls. There's a few rings you got to fly through for bonus points. If you do barrel rolls through the rings, you get bonus acrobatic points. You get points for flying really low above the ground. If you fly really low right above the water flies up behind your plane. Super cool. So there's always, you can challenge yourself by going back and try to do the missions better. And that kind of leads into where I'm going. Some of this stuff unlocks new planes. And so you start with 3 different planes, and you can upgrade these planes as you do your missions. When you do a mission, you get to buy a new part. If you get a B ranking or above, you get more parts you can buy. So you're always upgrading your plane and making it better. And then wanting to play through the game again with subsequent new planes that you unlock. There are 2 other modes to the game, like I think they call it a target mode, which is basically just a fly through the ring mode. There's a big map and you got to fly through the rings in the order that they want you to fly through them really quickly. And by doing that, you can unlock new planes. There's all kinds of cool planes. You start off with like a biplane and something like a P-51 Mustang, and I want to say like a big wide-tailed, like a double-body wide-tailed, kind of like a Lightning, I think they were called in World War II. I don't know why, but there's kind of a lot of World War II planes. You can unlock a Corsair, F4U Corsair, which was a dogfighting plane primarily used in the Pacific. There's there's a gyrocopter. I mean, come on, gyrocopter. Who doesn't want to fly that thing that PV was flying at the end of the Rocketeer, where he saves Cliff Secord on the blowing up Zeppelin? That's right, you get the gyrocopter. There's a stealth plane, which I only read about. I don't think I ever unlocked that as when I was originally playing it. There's a couple UFOs you can unlock. There's like a gold UFO and a silver UFO, and of course they're just super awesome at flying around. And you also unlock a special radar. And this is one of the coolest things, is once you unlock the special radar, alternative landing strips will start showing up on your map during missions. So there's 4 missions which have special hidden runways, so you can really start exploring some of these maps. And they are kind of linear, when you're flying through the canyon, but every now and then, like, you might see a branch off, and you can fly down there and find a secret runway, and you build kind of the ultimate plane by going and finding these secret runways, and you can eventually even turn it into a jet. I forget the name of the plane. It starts with an S, and it looks really cool, and has like a propeller in the front and the back, I think. Really thin and wide wings. It's super cool. Just trust me. When you see it, you'll know it's awesome. So there's all kinds of kind of things you can do after the game is done, after you've beaten it your first time, to collect all the planes, do this, the special missions. Well, not special missions, but the alternative fly through the ring stuff. Oh yeah, and there's also a skywriting one where you let out smoke behind your plane, you fly and you do big letters, and the goal is to write the word before the smoke is all blown away into the wind. So it's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun to play. It's family friendly if you want to stick your kid with it. I know a lot of my friends these age got kids, so you can play this in front of them and even stick it with them when you're not looking, because it's a pretty wholesome game. This game has also kind of always been special to me because it was given to me by my meme at Christmas time. I, like so many kids of that time, I say kids, I was in college, got a PlayStation 2 from my parents for Christmas, and this was one of the games that she totally picked out on her own. I like to imagine that she looked at the shelves, or she was quite savvy about talking to people, other gamers and the store clerks, asking them what was popular, what was good, and she got it for me. And it wasn't one that I ever asked for or I ever wanted on my own. So it was always kind of something special that it was something she found for me. And it just it meant a lot. It was nice getting something like that. This is actually not my original copy. There was a time in college when I lost a job unexpectedly. Was really hurting for money, and I needed to sell some games to survive. So I had to sell my copy for hardly anything, pennies on the dollar. So when I got my game room set up here, I knew it was going to be one of the first games that I wanted to, recollect, if you will, and play. And I completed it in the first week after setting up the game room and getting it going. So I hope I've hyped you up on Skye Odyssey. I hope if you're ever, just considering looking for an old game to try, you might give it a real consideration. It's a step away from the real traditional stuff that you see a lot. It's a breath of fresh air. It's just a flying adventure game. There's nothing else like it. I've been waiting for a spiritual successor for a long time. Oh, this is really dorky to say. One of the games that I almost pseudo compared it to is the Wii Resort game that came with the special connector, to add heightened sensitivity to your Wiimotes, where you fly. There's a game where you fly airplanes like a paper airplane. You hold the controller like a paper airplane and you fly it around like this. And there's a big island. And I would get a friend to come and play this with me, and it was a dogfighting thing. Again, always got to be shooting. But I'd say, hey, let's not shoot each other. Let's just fly around the island. And there is tunnels in the island and a volcano you can fly into and all this cool stuff. And it was the only ever thing that really gave me the feeling of Skye Odyssey. So, yeah, I've always been waiting for a spiritual successor. If any of you guys know of one out there, hit me up in the comments, as they say. And yeah, I guess that's about it. I think I might have actually gotten it right this time. I've tried to record this about 450 times. So, hey, if you're one of my friends, if you wanted to make me feel good, you can toss a like, maybe a comment on the video. Of course, there's no obligation, but it would make me feel good if you did. And I guess that's it. Now I gotta think of another video to make. I have no sign-off yet. I feel like every cool YouTuber guy has a sweet sign-off. So I'll just, Oh
God! The children are burning! Ah!